So I'm working on a project I call Onward, in which I help people find meaning in faith and service. And the problem that I am wrestling with Onward is that that civilian theology, which is theology when it excludes military service, can become a problem at the least. It can become an idol. So there's this podcast that I love, website, social network by Peter Enns called The Bible for Normal People. I've been a member of the social network for a while, Society for Normal People. And I saw recently he did a podcast on Joshua, the book of Joshua. And in it, he uh, leans in a Marcionite direction. And he says that all of this, the military campaign that's described in 5 of the chapters of the book of Joshua, he just wants to throw it out. Here's what he says.
How could God have commanded that all those Canaanites be put to death? The answer seems to be, and this is very much my opinion, that God didn't command this.
And if you read the book of Joshua, parts of Exodus, and bits of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, God does command violence. It's uncomfortable, but it's there. And to excise some of it because it makes us uncomfortable, that's Marcionism. That is a kind of disregard for the tradition that we are grafted onto, which is to say the Hebrew scriptures and biblical Judaism. Historically, Christianity has said that's not Christianity. And if there's any doubt that it is discomfort with violence that causes this, this is what Pete goes on to say. He uses this example of how he used to talk about his dad on the playground, and he would kind of embellished. And he said his dad, who was a Russian soldier conscripted by the Nazis to translate for them, who was raised Mennonite, this pacifist denomination, he said that his father
didn't like to talk about the possibility that he may have killed someone.
So Pete has stumbled upon the difficulty that every soldier who has deployed to war or who has had to consider deploying to war has struggled with. It's a privilege to think that, well, because this makes me uncomfortable, I'm just going to push it to the side. And the effect of that is that millions of soldiers and veterans who identify as Christian, something like 15 million in America, they are the ones that get to try and figure out what it means that they've killed someone. So the very intelligent, compassionate, well-intentioned people like Pete, like other pacifists that I've encountered, they export that responsibility, that great responsibility to deal with what it means that we have done something wrong, and they put it on the shoulders of military families. Not intentionally, but that's the effect. And that's why I think we see the military suicide rate that we do. So the solution, I think, is not to avoid that experience that Pete has voiced on his father's behalf. Plenty of soldiers and veterans have talked about it. And that, I think, is where the gospel occurs. The good news is for those who are broken and in need. Some of the most famous veterans have said to their children on their deathbed, does God forgive me for these things that I've done? And so it's a difficult task. It's burdensome. But that burden belongs to all of us Christians, not just to the ones who served in the military. And so I think there's a responsibility for pacifists, for nationalists, to accept that burden and to no longer hide behind our political commitments or kind of less than fully substantive exegesis of the Bible, that we don't just get rid of things or skip it over or tell ourselves that it doesn't exist just because we don't like it, but to do the work of figuring out what meaning those things have for us and to work with those who are broken and hurting to discover what meaning they've found in this. And so that's why I think Onward is not just for soldiers and veterans, it's for the whole church. So I hope you'll check it out at pewhq.com/onward. Let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns. And Pete, if you see this, I'd love to talk to you more about where I think we can find meaning in Joshua and other difficult texts surrounding violence in the Bible.